Rockford's home for classic rock is 96.7 The Eagle. I'm Captain Jack. It is National Police Week. And obviously with the current situation in our country, things are on hold or postponed at this time. And so we wanted to take a time on our website and this week to give thanks to the men and women in blue, the law enforcement officers that have protected us over time and those that have given the ultimate sacrifice. And one of those being Rockford Police Department Detective Kevin Rice, who end of watch was August 3rd of 2001. And we're lucky enough to be joined by Elmer Rice right now. Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate this.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
So this time of year, obviously things are a little different because of COVID-19 and things being canceled and postponed. But when we get to National Police Week, when we get to this time of year, what's the thought process for you and your family? What are the types of things that you guys are thinking and feeling this time of year?
Well, obviously, this time of year, along with August 3rd, we think about everything that happened with Kevin. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a reminder, the sacrifice that Kevin made, in addition to the sacrifice that all the other officers have made throughout the years. Now, if you look back, they remember officers back from 1917. So it's just time of year to remember these officers and the sacrifice they made, and kind of focus on the lives they lived and not the way they tragically lost their lives.
Sure. We have over 22,000 names are engraved on the wall of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial. And a lot of stuff happens during this week, including tomorrow night, Wednesday night, they'll actually do the candlelight vigil on the YouTube channel where they name off the officers, the detectives from across the country, all the states, and give them the proper due. When it comes to something like that and being able to see his name and hear people mention him, I mean, I imagine that evokes a lot of emotion, but probably a time of celebration of life as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is, very much so. I remember back in May 2002, when Kevin's name was added to the police memorial wall in Washington, D.C., mm-hmm. along with all the officers from 9/11, from New York City, the Port Authority. So just being there during that time and seeing these officers being recognized and celebrated, along with my brother from Rockford, Illinois, it's a great tribute. Anytime you can see officers being recognized and make the ultimate sacrifice, because it's one of the things that you never think is going to happen.
Sure.
I remember when Kevin first got hired with the police department, he was there for 2 years probably and became a field training officer. And one of the things he told every trainee that he was training, that my job is to show you how to be a police officer and how to show you how to stay alive. Mm-hmm. So that was his main focus. He said, anything beyond that, right now I'm training you. We're not friends. We're not partners. My job is to show you how to do a job and to show you how to stay alive. And unfortunately, those are words that Kevin couldn't necessarily live by because his life was tragically taken on August 3rd. But that was his goal, to make sure that every officer that he trained stayed alive, and every one of them did. He never trained an officer that got killed in the line of duty. Sure. So
we're being joined by Elmer Rice right now, the brother of Detective Kevin Rice from the Rockford Police Department. We're going to talk a little bit more about the memorial and things that would be happening later this week with the breakfast and the ceremony and everything. Could you tell us a little bit about Kevin? Obviously, I never had the pleasure to get to know him, but as your brother, I mean, to become a member of law enforcement, it takes a special type of person, obviously. Somebody that's really dedicated, a lot of passion for, it's not a job, it's a way of life. Tell us a little bit about Kevin, if you would, please.
Yeah, that's true. Kevin was, well, I come from a family of 11 kids.
Okay.
I'm number 8, and Kevin's number 7.
Okay.
We're 15 months apart, so we've always been close. He's the best man at my wedding. I was the best man at his wedding. So we've always been best friends. And even growing up, Kevin just wanted to help and protect people, even as a young kid growing up. So he followed his dream by starting off in law enforcement at Votech at Jefferson High School,
okay.
Going on to Rock Valley College. Then he ended up working security jobs, and then eventually got hired with the Rockford Police Department. And that's something that he's always wanted to do. And always enjoyed working with people and making a difference in people's lives. If it was a matter of being involved with church, with the young adult choir, anything that Kevin could do to be involved, to make a difference in people's lives, that's what he wanted to do. And he fulfilled that dream of doing that.
Sure. Usually during the National Police Week, we do some great stuff locally, including the ceremony, which would be later this week out at the Tabala Events Center. They set the table for the officer that can't be there. And there's a nice ceremony with the pipes and the colors and everything to celebrate the life and to give thanks. And that's obviously where I had the opportunity to first see you and meet you hosting that event several times. What is that event like for you as family? I see all of you pretty much up close, up front every year, and sure you are. It's an emotional moment, but it gives your family an opportunity to get together that once a year and hear his name, and I'd imagine celebrate the life of Detective Rice.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And you can tell as the years have gone on, we've gotten a lot stronger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one of those situations where you never get over it, but you learn different coping mechanisms, and
Sure.
you get stronger.
Right.
I remember the first event that we went to, it was a lot more emotional the first time, and just hearing Kevin's name being called and bringing back those memories when things are so raw at the time.
Sure.
So now as we get stronger, but there are always moments, no matter what time of year it is, that we're gonna have moments where we think about Kevin and just want to have some emotional moment. But it's good with the breakfast where you can enjoy it with other family members that
Sure.
understand what you're going through. So when you sit and you talk to somebody, you give somebody a hug and they say, hey, I know what you're going through. They understand this because they're also recognizing their family members, you know, and experiencing a great loss just like we did. So it's a great time to get together and also see the other officers that are still working and some of the retired officers, to pay tribute to them and thank them for their service. You know, anytime you can work as a cop for 25, 30 years and survive and be able to retire and enjoy your life, that's always a good thing. And so we want to recognize those officers, even though we understand it's a somber moment.
Mm-hmm.
When you mentioned the setting of the table, everything associated with that, it's a somber reminder, but it's also kind of a joyous reminder to see all the officers that's still alive, that's able to do the job, or the ones that retired and they're healthy and happy. So that's always nice to see, you know, during police week and any time of the year.
And I got to say, being involved with this event for the past few years, when you see officers come from all over the state, you know, down south, and whether they're you know from the Rockford area, the Northern Illinois, but to see all of them come together, the men and the women and their families. For you personally, having you know a family member that lost their life, it has to be. You have that kind of that. You're always going to have that kind of outside family. You're going to have those other family members, those other officers, where you can all come together on that one day as a giant family.
Yeah, that's true, and it is one giant family. You know, Kevin has biological family, but he also had the Blue family.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the day that Kevin's funeral, and all the police officers that were lined up. It was August 2001. It was a hot day, and these officers were outside, all lined up to pay respects to my brother. Most of them never even met Kevin, never even knew Kevin, but they knew the work that he did, and they know everything that's involved with doing police work, the dangers involved with that. So me as a sibling, and Kevin only been 15 months older than me, I'm riding in a limousine, going to the cemetery, and I'm seeing people lined up all along the streets, and I'm seeing all these 500 plus police cars. I'm thinking, all of this for my brother, the guy that I grew up with. I mean, you know, it was just quite a tribute to see that. And it didn't really sink in right away, but as time went on, I kind of understood a little bit more. Just like it was just such camaraderie with the police officers. And like I said, some of them never knew Kevin, and they came from all different parts of the country to pay tribute to him. And it was always nice to see, and it was one of those things that you always remember.
Sure. And even though we can't have all that usually goes along with National Police Week this year, including the breakfast that we just spoke about, I wanted to make sure that we could get a hold of you and speak to you to pay tribute as best we could to Detective Kevin Rice today. So, Elmer, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much for this. Hopefully things get settled and we can do things all over again next year. Look forward to seeing you, and appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thank you for all the work you do to recognize police officers and being such a great citizen and support of law enforcement.